Welcome to the B2G Victory Cast, where we share insights and stories from industry leaders in the world of business to government. In the second part of Episode 5, Maximizing Opportunities with Your 8A certification, we continue our in-depth discussion with leading expert, Miguel Ruiz, Lead Business Operating Specialist with the Small Business Administration. Together, Susan Repka and Miguel Ruiz explore the resources available to small businesses, such as mentorship programs, tools, and more that will help you win your next contract.
What we would like you to do is to wait until you understand your business backwards and forwards, okay, and have had success. You've had clients and you keep getting milestones in what we call scope and scale, okay? And of course, scope is the breadth of what you can do. Scale is the depth of what you can do in that discipline, okay? How big that you can go. So when you achieve that, now let's talk about using 8A, because 8A is one of the best things about 8A is that the ability to sole source. It's still like I said, it's the gold ticket for sole sourcing, although it's on parity now with the rest of them. You know, women-owned small business in those NAICS codes that they're in, you know, they are on parity. HUBZone the same way. Service-connected disabled veterans the same way. So they, you know, and even small. So again, it's just at the end of the day, the federal contract official is if I can go small, okay. If I can get something else there, all right, even better. Okay, but you still have to deliver. So if you don't have the experience, and remember, we're talking about scale as in the government. You get a contract that says, all right, you got to deliver to Anchorage. Have you figured out the logistics on getting to Anchorage? Have you figured out on this? You know,
it's not a inexpensive shipment to Anchorage.
No, it's not. And of course, we try to tell people, says, look, the reason why that you don't want to come in when you're eligible at a minimum 2 years in business is because most of those are 1, 2, 3 person shops. Not that they're bad, not that they couldn't work, but if you're a one person shop, you got more than enough on your plate to begin with. Okay, you need to start going. It's when you start getting employees that now you can rely upon to, you know, represent or to fulfill your compliance aspect with being in the program, because that's a big thing, getting compliant with the regulations there and the eligibility requirements, the continuing eligibility, because every year you have to reestablish that you are eligible to maintain the program. Mm-hmm. Within the first 60 days, you have to provide to SBA a business plan that we accept. Now, most people they said, right, what do you mean, Miguel? I said, well, okay, a business plan it can be anything, right? It could be one page, could be a big, you know, tome or whatnot, but it addresses, you know, who you are, what you're trying to do, and like I said, in the financing, it's how much money you need, how you're going to pay it back. But in contracting, this is that, well, you know, how are you going to go after things, and now how you're going to fulfill those. In 8A, that's what we focus in on.
Okay.
So it's all right. So let's take somebody here. You're here in the area, okay? You're trying to get in the 8A program. I'm going to ask you, says, all right, can you put somebody on Mars? Can you put, you know, well, there's NASA. Are you a veteran? No. Well, there's the VA. You got a hopper dredger. Okay, there's Corps of Engineers. So now what? You got to explain to me how you recognize that you have to go outside your comfort zone. And a comfort zone for any small business is roughly 100 to 150 miles around where they're located. Mm-hmm. That's your sweet spot. You know, they can do business day in, day, you know, all 24/7 there. Outside that, now you got to start thinking about things. I talked about the military. It's still another 30 to 50 miles away outside of that comfort zone. Okay, Austin, same thing. That's where Camp Mabry is. If you want to do it with the state in the Texas reserves, you know, up at Joint Base Dallas Fort Worth, same thing. Over at Louisiana, Fort Polk or Barksdale, you know, Arkansas, they're somewhere else. Okay, so you've got to be that. So when I say acceptable to us in our areas, that you've got to identify, you recognize that. And that what are you doing in order to prepare for that or have done to prepare for it? That's where Apex comes in. If you're a client of the Apex, I already know the Apex and what they do and how their methodology is. And it's the same methodology for everybody there. And you just have to tell them, are you in the federal space to start with, the state, or the local governments? Mm-hmm. Okay. And each one of them, they're similar, but they have peculiarities. But once you get through that and understand it, you're in a better position. You understand, what it is to do a compliant submission on a response to a solicitation. Okay. And that's what they're trying to get you to do is that, all right, and not only that, now if you are awarded, to fulfill the contract, okay, have in place there. So we need you to be further along than what you think you are, okay, to really take advantage in this area.
It's definitely not for a startup.
Not for a startup. Again, once you get the logistics start to overwhelm you, just the math itself is, all right, I've got to go and market to this area. Because, yes, we can use the internet and whatnot, but as I always start reminding, we're human, okay?
Like to see people.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind, all right? A contracting official, for the most part, they've all told me the same thing. They got to know you, out of sight, out of mind. They don't know you, okay? They got to like you, okay?
People do business with people they like.
And it's not just that you're a yes person, is that if it's a no or if there's an issue that you're trying to help out with the problem, you're providing solutions, okay? And then they got to trust you to be able to fulfill the contract. Now, how do you trust somebody? Is that, well, if they haven't done business with me before, have they done with somebody that I recognize that, yeah, if they do business with them and have done it, they're okay. So that's another federal agency, or maybe that's a state agency, or maybe that's a local government entity, right?
But
or
they understand the process.
So they understand that there's some things that I got to report back on, et cetera, okay? And that's where, again, the apex is illuminating them, says this is what you need to put in place. This is why a 1 or 2 person shop is kind of unwieldy for them, okay? Go try to do subcontract works, try to build your way up so that you have more people there so you can actually go after these lucrative government contracts.
So there is an event, an 8A event that some of the certified companies go to. What's the benefit for attending something like that to kind of help once you get your 8A? Does that help in any way to get business out of that since you're actually meeting people?
So we had recently had the National 8A Conference. So 8A firms, there's a 501c3, the nonprofit, that is a membership of 8A firms, okay? And they host a conference. So when we talk about conferences, is that this is where you've got in those that are program-centric. So from our headquarters, there were the 8A folks from the headquarters, so that's the director and all the different areas there for eligibility and whatnot. They're to speak on their topics. Okay, so now you've got that. Okay, be able to interact with that individual that actually is in charge of whatever the aspect is. For us, you had federal agencies and their Office of Small Business Programs. Okay, they're represented.
I get to meet the buyers.
To meet the buyers. Okay, or at least on the federal side, you have small business specialists, or some of them we call small business professionals, depending on the agency. So that position is by definition the liaison between a small business and the federal agency. Okay, if there's a major buying activity, there may be a group there. So, for example, at Johnson Space Center, they call it the industry office, industry assistants. Okay, and they have, I believe, 3 or 4 small business specialists there, and they're working with the buyers, the federal contract officials, and sometimes the program people. Okay, those technical, the people that are actually using what they're being bought. So again, they're the liaison to get you to the buyers or get you to the program people, okay? That's a small business specialist. When a contract at the federal level doesn't go to a small business and it goes to a large concern, I'm not supposed to say large, other than small, okay? Then there's a corresponding position that has to be created called the Small Business Liaison Officer, if it's a certain size, like over 750 for anything that's not construction, 1.5 for construction.
Okay.
They have to establish a small business liaison, and there's subcontracting opportunities for small business. They have to establish a small business liaison, and they do the same job that the small business specialist does for a federal agency for that particular. So, for example, Shell's got a fantastic one. Shell has small business liaison officers, which are they also are their supplier diversity people. Okay, and normally that's where you start seeing it. These Fortune 500s or whatnot. They have a significant enough contracts that they start to create these supplier diversity programs, okay? And I know y'all do a great job about trying to get people connected there because of all the opportunities are there to grow their business there. So the small business liaison officers act as that liaison between the small business and Shell or whoever the entity is, their buyers and everything, getting them into the program, get registered, help them to get in, be in their supplier diversity program, other than just registration. So again, you got to understand that. Okay? You have to understand that SBA has actually people that can sit there and kind of force the federal agencies or the Fortune 500 to do things for small business. For example, we have procurement center representatives, PCRs. They sit at major activities around the country, and their job is to ensure as much as possible that it goes small. So the question, like here, for like at NASA, is that the question is always at the NASA Johnson Space Center is that, can a small business do this? That's the first question. Now you prove to me that a small business can't do this. Now you can set it aside for the large businesses and whatnot. It says, but other than that, we're going to start with the premise that a small business can do it. So you now got to provide me that they can't. Okay, or there's nobody there that I don't have two or more. Okay, that I can set aside for. So that becomes a great integral part of how we're able to get more to go small business. Okay, the PCRs, because they can sit there and take a requirement away because they have now the information that there were two or more small businesses that could do this. Why didn't you set it aside? Now you put it up on them, and by that time it's now rising above the contracting official, way up there. And what they don't want to do is have it to go to like the cabinet member. That's probably not a good thing. As they say, stuff rolls downhill at that point. So, PCRs, if it goes to a large concern, okay, a commercial market representative, which is an SBA person, is monitoring the large concerns. So the Shells, the Halliburtons, KBRs of the world, right? When they have federal contracts, they have the commercial market representative that's kind of reviewing their reports. They have to report because it's the government. Come on, we got plenty of reporting we got to do.
There's lots of reports.
I always joke that. I says, okay, I don't like that. He goes, why? I says, well, because I just do something I have to spend twice as long in order to report about what I just did instead of going on to do something else. But that's what happens, okay? Again, it's preparation, it's understanding that and having in place the mechanisms in order to fulfill that. So not only are you compliant in your submission, you're compliant in how you conducted the task and how you ended up, the final reporting and everything, and now you're prepared for the eventual audit. Because, like I said, government has time and money. So we'll send somebody out at some point to ask about that. That's why we say keep your records for 6 years. That's because at that point, that's enough time for us to get around to it normally when we don't have COVID.
So I think a lot of the small businesses forget about the fact that these large Fortune 500 companies have government contracts. And that is, the federal government is actually the birth of the supplier diversity programs.
That's right.
That's where it started. So you can get federal opportunities without going directly to a federal agency.
That is correct.
And so if you have some experience working with, such as a Shell, you can actually translate that into experience that you can use to go after a federal contract directly. You just have to have that experience. You have to be able to show that.
Right. And of course, then you have to utilize the platforms that are there for you to tell the world that. Okay. So we talked about registering SAM with GSA. So SAM's information feeds into different areas. Okay. One of which is SBA. SBA has a platform called the Dynamic Small Business Search.
Yes, indeed. I use
so the
that
Dynamic
a lot.
Small Business Search was created because where SAM is essentially, when it gets down to it, it's that collection of information, especially how to pay you if you're going to get an award. Okay, that's really the biggest key about SAM, is that the federal contracting officials are going to access that for two reasons. One, to make sure that you are registered in SAM, and two, if they want to award you, now that's how they get the information to contact, and then now they can contact you. Hey, give me access to that,
right?
So I can pay you. But it's not a marketing tool. The Dynamic Small Business Search is a marketing tool because it provides whoever looks at that database, because it's a 24/7 public database, whoever looks at it to find out information about that business. And only small businesses are in the Dynamic Small Business Search. Our algorithm picks up what is small, what is not small, and only the smalls get in. Now, that's another discussion about, how do you determine small? Well, we determine small. That's why our algorithm is really good about picking these up. You've provided the information. Our algorithm says, yes, you are.
Yes.
So now we create that. And for most of the information translates over, but we give you up to 4 different areas that you can enhance and have a competitive advantage to your peers, okay? The first is the capabilities narrative. So most businesses all businesses in the federal sector need to have a capability statement. It's that one page. I know y'all have done sessions on that.
Yes.
Okay. That, that essentially can tell very quickly. It says, here's who I am, here's what I've done, like it says, and here's my contact information. Okay.
And here's all my codes.
And here's all your codes, right? And again, depending on if it's an expo, if it's a general information, or if I get into Shell, it's something for this, and hopefully, if I've done my homework correctly, it's a specific need that Shell has, and that's what my capabilities statement is now addressing. Okay, it's that fine tuning of that statement. Well, we give a ability to do a narrative, which is essentially an executive summary paragraph, okay, of what's on your capability statement. All right, and that's in there. The problem is that most people don't recognize that the dynamic small business search is there for them to complete, or they're so tired after their SAM registration, they just can't have any more, and they just forget about it, okay?
But you can go back in and update it.
You can, but it's very important that you actually do so, especially with the capabilities narrative, because the default report from the dynamic small business search has in there the name of the firm, where they're located, their contact information, the contact person, and the capabilities narrative. That's the default setting. Now, for most contracting officials, they don't go into they don't have time to go and adjust this for this, all right? They will do the default report. So, and they've told me to a person, if they get all these names and there's a blank in those areas, they cross through them. Okay. This is a tool that you can easily go and put some information in there, and now you don't get crossed off. Because again, a contracting official, they've got 100 of these, they have to do this today, okay? They're just gonna run reports and these are the ones I'm gonna contact. Because
they took the time to do it right.
Right, they help me, help you. Help me, help you. So, Jason Alexander, I'm sorry about that. So it's you that's one of the big things. The other way is if you have any special equipment or materials that you use. Now, I used to say that, I'll give an example of the promotional products. Okay. Back when 3D printers were the rage, they were just coming out on the market like that, and it was really, ooh, you get a 3D printer like that, and now the promotional products had it, and they're starting to do that. That was something. But as I tell them, over time, it became the norm. If you were in promotional products and you didn't have one, that was the exception, all right? So my question then is that, all right, you can still list that if you've got larger and larger sizes. Right. That's what you put in there, because now you can handle anything. If I needed to do, this table, here, you've got the ability to do so, okay? That differentiates yourself from another small business there that maybe only has a small 3D printer. Okay?
So it sounds to me like you should be updating
yes,
that on a very regular basis.
On a regular basis. It always says that at least once a year. And said, no, when milestones occur, okay, and you have to recognize things that things change over time. And again, we talked about the business plan earlier. The business plan is good up until the time you turn the key and open the door. And then it's
out the door started
because it mutates just rapidly at that point. Okay, so you've got to recognize that special equipment, keywords. Okay, we have the ability to list these keywords, and keywords are what you call what you sell. Not only your industry, but perhaps most importantly, what do the government officials call it? So you've heard my example, and this is the one that Valerie Coleman told us. Okay. Cleaning an office. Every federal agency has a contract to clean their offices because we're not going to do it. Okay, we farm that out. Okay, so in the military alone, if it's the Army, maybe they call it janitorial, and if the Army calls it janitorial, the Navy will call it custodial. Why? Because the Army and the Navy never agree on anything. They've never agreed on anything, and they meet the second Saturday in December to settle it on the field for the year. Okay, so custodial, janitorial. Well, the Air Force, not wanting to be left out, goes, well, it's part of housekeeping. Okay? And the Coast Guard, they'll pipe up and say, oh, it's part of facilities maintenance. We're still waiting for what Space Force is going to call it. We know it's going to be different. Okay? But again, that goes into just cleaning an office, and now I've got 4, maybe 5 more ways to say that. But if I don't put those keywords in there, each one of them, whoever uses those keywords to search for their vendor, you've now not coming up on their list.
Do your research.
Do your research, okay?
Know your end user.
Right. The last thing that we give is performance history or references.
References, yes.
Okay. And this is one of probably the biggest misunderstood of the 4 enhancements, okay, that you have for competitive advantages. Because people assume that it's government experience or federal government experience is what they really say. And I go, no, it's your experience. It's what you've done, what you've completed out there. And it's something that obviously you're more than happy to tell somebody else, hey, I did this. Mm-hmm. Here's who it was, here's what it was, here's how much it was, here's when it was, here's the contact in order to verify my information, okay? That's important because especially as time goes on. Because like I said, when you're first starting out, yeah, there'll be a time period where you don't have anything, okay? We understand that. If you're established in 2023 or 2022, 2021, or even 2020, and don't have anything in the performance history, all right? Okay, I can see that, okay? However, if you've been established since 2000, that's 23 years. You haven't done anything? Or you've done just a minimal amount of things? Don't tell me, or you got stuff that's dated? It was down in 2011. I'm going, yeah, what have you done the last 12 years? If you're reporting like millions of dollars of annual revenue, yeah, what is it? Tell me a reference. Remember, they have to trust you. And the only way they trust you is that if you haven't done it for me, you've done it for somebody that's like me, or someone that's, maybe the next level below me, or a big firm that works on stuff for me. Okay?
Right.
All right. So performance history is anything. And we talk about it's again, milestones, scope and scale. If you're a painter, it's that first wall. And then it's the first room. And then it's the first house, the first 1-story commercial, the first 10-story commercial, right? And you're building on people like that. You had 20 people working for you. You worked for, we used a CBRE, all right? CBRE is, big leasehold, a leaser there, okay? And you went in and did theirs. You did all the Krogers in the area, okay, as they're coming out. That's milestones, okay? So again, it's scope and scale. Right, that's what needs to be in there, and it doesn't matter. He said, as we, the apex or anybody will tell them says, well, obviously the government contracts, the recent and relevant government contracts, you float to the top, but as long as it's demonstrating that it's again relevant and recent, okay, you want to make sure it's towards the top. You still keep those milestones if you'd like because they're significant. Like as we said, there's only one prime. But if you get one that with DOD or the military like that, hey, you want to trumpet that,
right?
Okay? Even if it was a small amount, because I completed one for the military or for one for the Defense Department, which are the hardest ones to successfully complete, okay? Because it's so detailed. Next is NASA after that, all right? So, that's what we're trying to get people to understand, that this is a tool. The Dynamic Small Business Search is a tool. And again, we rotate back to Apex. Get those consultants to look at what you're doing, right? And listen to them. Now, you could take it with a grain of salt and not do it, whatnot. But for the most part, what do they have? All they're trying to do is ensure that you're growing and that you're getting money coming in. Okay? At the end of the day, that's how they get measured, all right? So they're just trying to make you better. So why not listen to them? And it's all right, I need to improve that. So again, if you're a one-person shop, that's just one more thing I got to put on the list. Okay, where's the priority there? But as you grow, and you've got people devoted to doing that for you, okay, now you start to entertain. Okay, I've had success. Let's go after a government contract. And as I tell people, it says, I work for the government, so I know these guys. Okay, so you want to get in, you want to get out, you want to reassess, and over time it gets faster.
Right.
But like I said, you get in, you get out, and then you sit there and think about it for a second. Is this something I want to go through again? Because there's always pain in anything you're doing.
Well, there's always pain in growth.
Exactly. Now, we haven't even touched upon stuff like the getting the correct amalgam for HR. Okay, the right people in. To help you out. We haven't even covered
that would be a whole different subject.
And we haven't covered financing, which is, again, somebody's got to pay for this. And as I said before, it's either your pockets or somebody else's.
Right.
Okay, your pockets, understand the depth of that one, but somebody else's could be. It could be equity, a partner in this or whatnot they're going to bring in, but you got, give up some control. You got loans, okay? And then even then, you've got venture capitalists, okay? Vulture capitalists.
Venture
capitalists, right. So, and SBA actually has a venture capital arm. There they have the small business investment companies. Main Street Capital, located here in Houston, over on Post Oak, is the biggest one in the country, the best one. They've had two and a half rounds of funding from us, right? Again, for those really deep pockets that, trying to get out and they're trying to do investment, the caveat is that they're supposed to focus on small businesses or targeted small business or targeted sections of small business, and they're supposed to do it for the intermediate to long term if they're going to do investment, okay? They still get their 40% or so return or whatnot. It's just that they're wait a little longer to do so, okay? That's the benefit of having the SBA in this realm there is because, instead of it a quick, if you don't do this within a couple, quarters, we're coming in, liquidating everything. No. I'm not saying it won't happen. You just said it'll take longer to do so of that. It's intermediate to long term.
So we have covered a lot of information.
That's right. It's just the tip of the iceberg here.
We could stay here for hours.
Yes, we could.
So as we're kind of wrapping up today's session, do you have a victory moment you would like to share? Something exciting that's happened to you at the SBA or in even your personal life in the last 24 months? Well,
I really believe that in March we had our matchmaker. Now, matchmaker is dear to my heart because it was the original matchmaker was done by Valerie Coleman back when she first got here to our area. She had come from Arkansas, and she was sitting at Johnson Space Center, and she said, I want to do this matchmaker. And it has evolved from that. It used to be just maybe up to 80, 85 small businesses, and then all the federal primes, all the large contractors for the federal all the federal agencies, all the federal primes, and then other government entities. It's evolved now into, we had, I believe, I want to say 600 participants. I think we had over 100 or close to 100, buyers there. And again, it's like speed dating. You go in, that to me is fantastic that we're able to do that. We again, remember we talked about evolving in a government program. Our partners at the Small Business Development Center are the ones that have started running this now in the last 4 years. So that, we now have somebody that can do this in perpetuity, and that gives me the ability to go after and put out another fire. Okay. Again, I always talk about we're like firemen or police officers like that. We're always responding to an emergency. It's just that, are we able to devote? If we spend more time on that emergency, that means I'm not getting to something else. Okay. And so that's why we want to have these partners in the area. I mean, like y'all, okay? The aspects, when y'all do something, it says that's actually helping us out because that's someone that we can rely upon to give it, like I said, the straight dope about things, okay? And that, like I said, a lot of it is that the relationship over the years built up, okay? You've heard this, say this before. And the thing is that if I hear it from y'all, it's going, well, that's cool. Like I said, because essentially I don't have to go and, attempt to undo things. It's being done the right way. And what we want to do is present a tried and true means for our small businesses to understand this is the road you're going to go on. You might have immediate success. That happens. You might have immediate failure. But for the most part, is it a steady growth? And over time, that's what really benefits you. And as I tell these small businesses when they're talking to us, I say, look, on Fridays, does your employee's bank account or yours make a difference on what if it was a prime or a subcontract that paid them?
Checks cashed the same way.
They don't care. Okay, was it in there? Right. The key to it for a small business owner is payroll. Could they make payroll that week? All right. And again, the more successful you are, the easier it gets to not worry as much. You still have to worry about it. It just is that overwhelming or is that okay? You got taken care of.
Right. it's there. We got it. So yeah, the small businesses, there are some challenges, but I just want one little comment there. A small business doesn't necessarily mean like a mom or pop 1 or 2 person.
No.
An engineering firm, I think, could average 15 million.
Some may go up, depending on the different industries. We go from up to maybe close to 40 million, right? And some of the construction-related projects and whatnot. Because if you think about it, as costs have increased over time, like I said, these projects will start getting larger and larger, and the way to build it. So again, the size, and again, the size is actually based upon your last 5 years of revenue. So it's an average over 5 years. It used to be 3 years. Now it's over 5. Now, 2 of those years, if we're right now in 2023, 2 of those years, what happened? COVID. Where it's almost went down some 0. Okay, so again, you probably average out. Again, the whole thing about size standards is that we're trying to get as many to be designated as small to differentiate them from the Fortune 500s of the world.
Right.
Okay? That ends are meeting for them. All right, they've got the pockets. They don't have to. The banks are coming to them to get to try to do business with them. So that's small. And then the number of employees is average over 2 years. It used to be 1 year. Now it's average over 2 years. Okay, so again, we're trying to get as many businesses to be designated as small. And for the most part, if you think about it, it says if you're under 100 employees, mazel tov, you're small. Okay. Because essentially you really haven't got to that. It was when you start getting over 100, now we start talking about, okay, all right, what are you generating in revenues and whatnot? That really comes to play. Again, remember, size, scale, and scope. All right, the more employees you have, the more different things you're coming in, more revenue streams you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. This is great.
It's just feel like we've had this conversation many times over the last 30 years.
Exactly. It's we were talking about this. Well, this is easy because, like I said, this is the last time I'd see you because every time it's we're just building upon that. And again, it's almost like it was yesterday that this conversation we last left it. All right.
Thank you for listening to the B2G Victory Cast. Make sure to visit our website at b2gvictory.com for more information and resources. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. We'll see you in the next episode.